Hey guys, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and I'm here with the Phoenix. I'm going to have to try really hard to not use your real name.
Yeah.
If we do, we'll get it edited out. But thanks for being on the podcast with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Colin.
Absolutely. So just so you guys know, I met the Phoenix at a boot camp, 4 years ago.
Was it 2011 or 12?
I think 12.
Okay, 12.
So maybe 4.5 years ago. And why don't you tell... Well, first off, I want you to tell people why you're doing this podcast.
Well, ultimately, I'm doing this podcast because this year, 2016, has been my most lucrative year ever, and I want to share with everyone out there just how to basically replicate this year that I had, and I want to share everything along the way so that people can be as equally as successful.
So to pay it forward.
Yes, yeah. Definitely want to pay it forward.
So he shared that with me before we were recording. I was like, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't have to be doing this. A lot of card counters wouldn't want to, and I totally respect and understand that. But I also really appreciate that you're willing to talk a bit, maybe give some hope and some of your experience to others. But tell us a little bit about how you got into card counting.
Yeah, there's a bunch of very, very interesting details because I feel like I'm kind of coiled with Blackjack Apprenticeship and the Holy Rollers because eons ago, like 2000. Are you okay with me going back?
Yes.
The pre-story, 2007. Who's it? John Collins? Does he care?
I don't know.
I don't think he cares.
He used to go by The Hit.
The Hit? Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He actually helped start Blackjack Apprenticeship.
Yeah.
In 2007 or 8.
So it was at that time, like I was in Portland and I was just doing motion graphics because that's what I like to do that. Ultimately, I want to be a filmmaker. Just want to be clear about that. But the closest thing I could do to filmmaking in Portland was do motion graphics for a living. And then I was at the church and he was on your church team and I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
But we would work on church videos together for Imago Day. And then I remember during the week I was like, where does this guy get his money? You know what I mean? Because it seemed like he would have so much more time to pour into the videos that we worked on. And then what's additionally weird is my memory is really good, and I specifically remember having a conversation with him about gambling and how stupid it was.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, oh, yeah. And at the time, he didn't say anything about it. He's like, oh, yeah, stupid tax. Yep. And I was like,
well, that's because what we were doing, we don't consider it gambling.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's investing.
But it's just weird to view that stuff retrospectively, like, oh. But there was a few times he would hint about sort of like, like under his breath, he'd be like, yeah, we're shooting a video in a casino. and I was like, oh, like a movie? And he'd be like, no, it's some documentary. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Because like the place I worked, we shoot like TV commercials, or sometimes it'd be stuff like that for like news, and I'd be like, oh, okay, cool, like whatever. Basically I wasn't impressed by it. But then fast forward, 2008 occurred, and I know that affected everybody. And I made less money that year than ever.
Yeah.
Whereas previously there was a ramp, like I would gain money every year.
Yeah.
And then I didn't quite make as much.
Just the economy.
Yeah, because
affected the editing video.
Somehow it affected it. The real estate. I mean, the real estate business affected everything. There was
the entire economy. Like unemployment was at a pretty bad level.
And my thought is I had this college loan that was burdensome, and I was like, but I still had the dream of doing films. And so I was like, man, if I'm going to lose money in Oregon where I don't even want to be in the first place, I'm going to move to LA.
Yeah.
So I moved to LA, but right prior to that, when I was kind of in the transitional phase of moving, John introduced me. The Hit. Okay, I'm going to remember that now. The Hit removed, had me meet with Ben.
Okay, yeah.
And
I remember this because we kind of put the pieces together at a boot camp, you and I at a boot camp a few months ago, where I was like, I remember this vague story of John introducing Ben to someone that he knew that was interested in joining the team, but for whatever reason, it didn't pan out.
Well, here's what's weird is the hit didn't even tell me anything about like the team. I didn't know anything about it. He was real mysterious about it, and he was like, "Hey, I just want this guy. There's this guy I want you to meet." And then he was kind of like, I just remember meeting him we're at a hipster bar in Portland. And then what's weird is I think there was a moment, and it's just how I remember it, and I could be wrong on this one, but I think the hit was like kind of motioning to me, and then Ben kind of did a no good or no go sort of communication symbol back to the hit. And I was like, I remember thinking, oh, that's kind of weird, but I just didn't think anything about it. But they did recommend, they knew I was moving, and they were like, the hit was asking Ben, he's like, hey, is there anybody in LA that you know? Because I didn't have any work lined up. I was just going to move there.
And we had 3 players. We had 2 in LA and another 4 or 5 in San Diego area.
Oh.
No, we had 3 in the LA area.
Interesting.
On the team at various times, yeah.
One of which was the filmmaker for the Holy Rollers documentary.
Yes.
And that's who they put me in touch with, and that's who I met with.
And so you were doing editing with him.
Well, that ended up happening because when I met with him, I was just like, hey, I'm down here, I'm trying to get work. And then I just talked about, hey, I have the dream of being a filmmaker. And he's like, oh, I'm specific. And he was like, I'm specifically into documentaries.
Yeah.
He didn't mention anything about Holy Rollers.
Uh-huh.
But what's weird is to get gigs, for him to make ends meet, because he exclusively does documentaries, even directs them. That's been wildly successful to him.
Yeah.
For him, and he's done really well. He does really, really good content. Kudos to him for all that. So he's like living the dream, which is great. And then, but prior to the dream,
the church team was the means.
It was the means, and then there was this thing called infomercials.
Oh yeah,
which is basically the world that I got sucked into.
Yeah,
because that was an easy transition for me because that's basically what I was doing up here in Portland, and then it was an easy transition for me to do down there. Because there's a lot of people that move to LA that just can't find any work, and it can't happen. But me, like within a month or two, smoothly transitioned into that. And then later I was doing some gigs, and then he showed up, and I was like, oh hey, what's up, dude? And he would edit some gigs that I did graphics for. And it was crazy. It was like, oh, and then with my roomies we did this vacation in Vegas, and that was my first time going to Vegas, and first time gambling. Actually, I did the whole thing where it's like $200 budget. Yeah, played craps, blackjack, lost the entire $200.
There you go. Good time in Vegas.
Good time in Vegas, and it actually was. We had some fun. We even did some. We went to that dam and kayaked.
Oh, okay.
The dam that basically birthed Vegas, as far as my understanding, and it was when we came back from that trip that the trailer for that documentary came out.
For Holy Rollers?
Holy Rollers.
Okay. Yes. And that's
kind of what got me going, but for me, I was like, oh, that's interesting, like spirituality and gambling.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that was like, I would say it was more of a subconscious thing in the back of my mind, but so I'm talking at work of like, oh, hey, I went to Vegas, da-da-da-da-da. And then like my boss at the time was like, oh, yeah, I got a guy that goes there. He takes about $50,000 off of him a year. And he like doesn't take too much, spreads the love around, goes from place to place. And basically the technique that he shared with me then
was martingale.
Was the martingale.
So for those that don't know, martingale is progressive betting. And one of the fun things about gamblers is everybody has a system, and 98% of people have a quote-unquote winning system. And a lot of them, it's some form of the martingale or progressive betting. But if you could actually see, if there's a way to audit their results, which the casinos probably have the results, they're not winning players. Progressive betting does not work. It's the first... this is really sad, but when I was getting my math degree, I had to take a senior level class called Math Reading, Writing, and Presentation. And we would like research a subject. I did one on the tides, which is pretty fun. But someone did one on roulette and how it can be beaten. And it was the martingale system, which she should have gotten an F for that. But whatever. None of us knew. We were at a Christian college. And gambling, it just sounds so exciting. But okay, so you learned about this guy's martingale system, and he makes $50,000 a year, which I'm sure is absolute baloney.
Yeah,
but I'm sure he tells people he makes $50,000 a year.
So here's so from then I experimented with the martingale. I think for about a month. And at first it did foster good results because the way to understand the martingale, you just basically if you lose a bet, you double it.
Yes.
You lose that bet, you double it.
Just Google progressive betting or martingale, and Wizard of Odds has some great articles that break down how it doesn't work.
Yes, they do. And so here's the deal. I won at first, and then I lost $1,700.
That's a lot of money.
And then I went back to the drawing board, and I, like what you say with Wizard of Odds has stats on how it doesn't work. I found a YouTube video that shared how it doesn't work, but in that a YouTube video, and specifically in the YouTube video, the Wizard of Odds guy said that you cannot win with martingale, but you can win with card counting. And
the light bulbs went off?
I know, yeah. I remembered the documentary trailer that had come out, and then the place that I had the job at, I lost the job. And I sat on the couch. They gave me a severance pay. Yeah. And I think I had 3 months severance. And I sat on the couch, and for a month rather, I played Magic the Gathering. And I think, and that's like a number card based game where it's like my 4/6 creature beats your 3/2 creature, whatever. Point is it's numbers. You know what I mean? It's a numbers and it's a card game. And you beat each other up, and it's for nerds like me. And I remember, I think the documentary had already come out. Okay. And then I remember after about a month, I was like, finally, after getting tired of playing video games, I was like, what am I going to do next? Yeah. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I wonder if they're having any of those boot camps. And I looked it up and like, oh man, there's one in a week. And I called you up and you're like, hey, you're in luck. Some guy just left at the last minute. Yep. He thought we were like some sort of gimmick. Yeah. And so I showed up and so in a week's time I knew I was going to be in Vegas learning how to count cards. So I went online to your BJA and I watched every video that I could. Okay. In fact, I think you even gave me an account. Yeah. Yeah, you gave me an account because I had signed up for the boot camp and paid for it because I had severance and had a little bit of money saved up and watched all the videos. And then I came to your boot camp and it was still way over my head, even though there was a week of like watching videos and trying to practice every day. But I came, and then after your boot camp, I went home and I practiced for 3 months.
So when you showed up at the boot camp, where were you at? Did you have basic strategy memorized?
No.
Okay.
Nope. I don't think I had anything. I think
you understood kind of the idea of card counting.
Yeah, it was mainly the idea, but I'd watched every video. Yeah.
So, did you feel like that first boot camp was worth it?
Oh, totally.
So it still was, even though you didn't know.
Yeah, because all the tools were there. I just knew
you had to go back to the work of actually mastering each step.
Yes, I did, and I practiced for 3 months. Mm-hmm. Simulating on a computer. You had given me a bet spread.
Yeah, because you had a little bit of a bankroll.
I did, and I took out $5,000, and I practiced for 3 months without even setting foot in a casino. And by the time I did set foot in the casino, the two skills that I did have down was basic strategy and the bet spread. I did not have
deviations.
the deviations down.
But you could keep the count.
Yeah.
You could play basic strategy, and that's 90% of it. Like, the deviations are really like the last 10%.
Yes, and I remember you saying that in the boot camp, and I was like, oh, okay. So instead of me just sitting here not generating any cash, I can at least generate cash and then learn the bonus stuff.
Yeah.
It was my mindset.
Yeah.
And I remember I didn't know how much to take out, actually. And so when in simulating it on the computer, simulating your bet spread with every training wheel possible, where it's like, it tells you the total of the cards, it tells you what the count is. I remember I lost $2,500, and I was like,
of not real money,
of fake money on the computer, and I was like, is this even working?
Yeah.
I was like, everything's bulletproof here because I have the chart right here, the basic strategy chart right here. I have all the appropriate counts. And it just felt like something was off, but then I just continued to play.
Yeah.
And sure enough, won all that back, and then an additional $5,000. But so I was like, oh, okay, so with this bet spread, I could lose $2,500. I'll take out $5,000.
Yeah.
And that's where that came from.
You started playing. So let's back up a little bit. So you were saying you lost, and you're wondering, does this work? I feel like that's actually a less scary scenario than I feel like what happens to a lot of people. What happens to a lot of people is they win. So they find our website or whatever, spend a couple hours reading about it. Maybe they spend a little bit of time practicing, go to a casino, and they win $300 or $500, and they're like, it works. The problem is they're not a winning player yet, and so they have a false confidence. So it's actually, I would rather people lose initially and then say, okay, does this work? Are my skills there? Keep practicing, And I tell people, maybe it's shameless self-promotion, but I tell people to use our iPhone app. It's like $3 and build a bankroll on the iPhone app. Because, it starts at $1,000, and if you play it, because it deals all the way to like a quarter of a deck left, it's like you could create the world's best blackjack game on it. But even if you don't, just put normal rules on it. If you play it for, what would be the equivalent of 100 hours, but you can play so fast. You could do that in, probably like 20, 30 hours of practice. You will grow your bankroll like, to 20, 30 grand or whatever, just use the best. You'll grow it, and you'll verify that you have the skills. But that's what you did with what did you use?
I think I just I got an app for my iPhone.
Oh, okay.
And an app.
It was just a blackjack game?
Yeah, just a weird blackjack game where there was a parameter that it would add the total of the cards together. Like, you have 18. Yeah,
so you didn't have to do that in your head while doing everything else.
Yeah, and then also it kept the count as well.
Oh, it did? Okay. Yeah, so it's like what our iPhone app does.
But it wasn't, it's not for card counters.
Huh.
It's just this weird. It had everything I was looking for.
Yeah.
And because what the big thing was? I think part of me picking this, I don't know what your software is.
Yeah.
And I'm past the phase where I need this, but like I was just looking for my needs at the time.
Yeah.
On the computer, you could switch between 1 and 2 hands. I think.
Cool. Yeah, ours only does one spot. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Our iPhone app. Yeah.
On the phone, you couldn't.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to make sure I simulated
the bet spread.
Because its max was 2 hands of 100, as I recall.
Okay, so you spent all this time. You came to a boot camp like it just happened to be a week after you got interested. I remember meeting you there, and you were wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. You were so excited, but you didn't know everything yet that a card carrier needs to know. But whatever, you spent the next few months perfecting it, 3 months, and you verified it at a home environment. And then what were your goals at that time when you're like, hey, I'm going to do this? What was your goal?
It was kind of like, at that time, it was an extra means of income. Okay. And honestly, I will say this, because this has kind of sort of come to fruition now. I think in the early stages, I I think my goals at the time, even within those 3 months, was like, let's just see if this works.
Yeah.
If this is a real thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, what am I getting into? Like, how hard is this? What does reality look like? Because there's a little bit of like, you watch the movie 21, and there's a little bit of delusions of grandeur, or skipping over the valleys.
They don't lose a single session until he gets emotionally overcharged and goes rogue on the team. Until then, he wins every single session, which is just not reality, not even close to reality.
But for me, there was a thought that, and it's basically a reality now because I'm at a place where I'm debt free. But like, I was like, maybe I can just count cards, and then go make films or write scripts. I remember saying that at that job when I still had it, and I remember my coworkers, my motion graphics coworkers, kind of like laughing at me a little bit, thinking that it was preposterous and ridiculous.
So that bothers me less than when someone's like, sweet, I'm going with you, and I'm going to count cards too.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it does sound kind of preposterous until you realize that I found the three things. It's like clockwork. The three questions. Well, isn't that illegal? 2 is, aren't you going to get like your kneecaps broken? And but don't you have to be a genius? It's those 3 questions.
Yeah. Yep.
And I just started telling people once they asked the first one, I'm like, no, it's totally legal, and you're not going to get your kneecaps broken, and you don't have to be all that smart. You just have to practice really hard at it.
I know. I say it, so I was like, yeah, it's like, when you watch a circus performer and what they do seems spectacular and impressive, but like if you watch them practice it for hours and hours and hours during the week, and you get bored, then you realize how they're able to do it.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it is for us. It's impressive to the person that you're initially teaching it to. Man, after a while, it's like riding a bike.
Yep, totally. Totally. People are like, how do you do? I'm like, I practiced a lot, and now it's pretty second nature.
I will say, though, the infancy stage is very important, and believe it or not, I did get lucky. Because...
So you started with your 5, and...
I did. I started with my 5, and I grew it, and I really want to kind of go over this, I grew it to an additional 9,000.
Okay.
So I had 14. And then I proceeded to lose 7,000 of the 9.
Okay, so you're up 2.
So I'm up 2.
You got 7.
But that's when basically my alarm went off, because I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I've used the same exact bet spread here, and if I had started with a $7,000 descent, I would be out of the $5,000 that I initially took.
Yeah.
And that's when I got in touch with you, and I found out that I was doing some majorly stupid stuff.
Okay. So I don't remember. Refresh my memory of the stupid stuff.
One was playing way too many negative counts.
Oh. Ooh. That hurts. That hurts my EV heart.
Yeah. Just muscling through. I don't even know why I'm not even quite sure why.
Here's why. Because people think, I play blackjack. But the point isn't to play blackjack. The point is to play positive hands. To play in situations where you have positive EV. And lots of times you have to sit down at the beginning of a shoe to get to those positive hands. But you don't have to play the negative parts of the shoe, because your goal isn't to be playing those. Your goal isn't to play blackjack. It's to play positive rounds per hour of blackjack. So it's, I understand it. I think we all did that. I sat down at a table and I would sit there for hours when I was first playing, until I learned how expensive that was, and that I was killing, maybe a third of my EV, and my risk was like 4x or 10x by playing those negative counts.
Yeah, it's really valuable when you sit in front of your computer calculation software, and then if you put a 0, like you're betting 0 in the negative counts, and you see how much more money you'll make, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, and your risk. Like you said, you would have tapped out if you would have gone on that $7,000 losing streak at the beginning. You would have never gotten into card game. Like your career would have been over.
Yeah. And so I got, and then another thing is, here's an interesting moment, is I played everything. I played 6 to 5 games.
Oh boy, okay.
That's
so the first thing, you played negative counts. Second, you were not really aware of the rules of beatable games.
Yeah, I didn't. I in the boot camp you had covered this topic.
Yeah,
it
was just over your head a week in.
I just didn't know how egregious or how damaging a 6-5 game is. In fact, I'll even go into this. I got backed off of a single deck 6-5 game.
You must be really good. If they're backing you off of 6-5, your skills must be incredible.
And I kind of want to like go over that here. There's two things just now, and something I want to share. That there's two things that I feel like people will use as a measuring stick to as a means of confirming that they're doing it right. And one is like, well, if I'm getting backed off, I must be doing it right.
Yeah.
And from that experience, I know that is wrong.
Yeah. There's a guy that came to our first boot camp, and he, at the end of the day, we're like, oh, did you learn anything? He said, no, I didn't learn anything from you guys, but I could probably teach you guys some stuff. And he made basic strategy mistakes during the training. And but he basically used the boot camp as an opportunity to brag to everyone in the room about all of his back-offs. And then we get an email from him like a year later saying, I lost $100,000. I don't know what you were teaching me, but it's not working. I was like, we couldn't teach you anything. You told us we couldn't teach you anything. You made excuses for basic strategy errors. But he thought he was a good card counter because he still got backed off.
Yeah, wow. And that also shows the paranoia of casinos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like they just...
Well, it's about big money. Usually, you know, like I don't want people there listening that are going to be starting with, you know, their $5,000 bankroll and going to think they're going to get backed off, you know, if they win $100 or $500 or even $1,000. You know, the backoffs generally come. It's either the really sweaty casinos, or it's if, you know, you're winning enough money that they start sweating it.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing that people use as a means of measuring that they're doing it right is short-term wins.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Which, honestly, right off the bat, that first weekend, I won $1,000, and I shared that with you. So I started with $5,000.
What did I say?
You were like, it doesn't always go like that.
Yeah,
and really couching my expectation. And I knew that that's what you were doing, and I knew... I didn't get the delusions of grandeur, but admittedly, there was some initial excitement. Because I knew on the computer, like the same thing could happen. I could lose $2,500.
Yeah.
And I only have $5,000. That's half the bankroll. And that's of $5,000. But I was just really excited, and I felt like I had a fair understanding. But there's other people that I've seen that they like they'll win even maybe for a month, 2, or maybe even 3 months, a lot of money, and it's just like you just got to know. You know, and I will say, oh, here's another thing I didn't do, is in that first winning of money, the only thing I had was just the stack of cash.
Yeah.
I didn't have...
Oh, you didn't keep track of records.
Track of any records. And I will say this, man, if you want to know, without a doubt, that you are a winning and good card counter, you want to track your performance.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess the only tracking I had was just cash in hand, because that money was its own money.
Yeah,
it was its own thing.
Yeah.
And then I remember when I took it out, I was like, if I lose this $5,000, I'm done with this.
Yeah,
I'm done with this experiment.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I'd won the $9,000 and then lost the $7,000, and then I revisited you, and
you came to a second boot camp.
I
right?
came to a second boot camp and kind of tightened some stuff up. There was. Oh yeah,
which is good. You know, you were ill prepared for the first one, which wasn't your fault. I mean, I'm so glad you came because it set you in the right direction. But you know, there will be, and that's why we like people can come to a second boot camp at cost. Is what we because it's a common thing that people. It's like we don't want people to wait till they are sure that they know everything to come to a boot camp because. You know, there's just still things, there's so much, I'll put it this way, we never have people saying they regret coming to a boot camp. But they're also like, oh man, I wish I could come back. You know, 3 months later, they're like, I need to come back because now I know what I didn't know then. And so that's the opportunity we provide by doing it at cost the second time. But I'm glad that you were able to come back, get those things tightened up, and keep going with your story.
Yeah, like a couple more mistakes. One was I played an 8-deck game that cut off 4 decks.
Oh yeah, yes, half shoot it. Yeah,
like, but they weren't half shooting me. They were just half shooting everybody.
That's just the game. Yep.
I just played everything and won $9,000 doing that.
Oh my gosh! Oh wow! So one of the games that I played the most at when I was first playing, it was an 8-deck game that they cut 3 to 3.5 decks off of. But I was just like you; I had no idea. And then once we got betting software, and there was not a lot of options back in 03, but it got this betting software, and I realized, oh, I don't think I'm even playing positive EV at that game. And stopped playing there, and then also found, and this other place I'm playing had an edge off the top, and I had no idea. But anyway, it's a common early mistake. And a lot of people, I get emails saying, can I do this online? And I always say, I'm not aware of online casinos that, they always do that. It's 8 decks, they cut it in half, and you just can't eke out any EV. Maybe you'll get lucky like you did, win $9,000, but then you're playing against the odds.
Yeah, man. And there was another interesting experience. I guess my first back off at Texas Station. I don't know if it was my first. It was my first one in Vegas.
Yeah.
And then I was playing double deck. And the guy was really nice. The pit boss was really nice. He's a really nice pit boss. He works at Palace Station now. But at the time, he was like, "Hey, I'm okay with you. I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm okay with you playing." But the guy that comes in after me, if he's not okay, you kind of got to go, is what he was saying. He's like, I want to see you do well. He's like, you're small potatoes to me. I can make if you win, I can make that disappear on my shift and on the books.
Sure, because everyone else is losing.
Right, and he was really nice, but he did lead me astray.
Okay.
Or he taught me a thing and then led me astray. He was like, hey. His advice to me was like, hey, make your spread really small, like a 1 to 4 spread.
Oh, okay.
And that's an additional thing that led to me not making as much money.
You weren't using a large enough bet spread.
Spread, especially for that in my infancy, and it was, the expenses.
Totally. You add that to playing through negative counts, and there goes your profit.
Like what happened?
Yeah.
But one thing he shared with me that was really interesting was he goes, he was like, because I was so blown away by that experience that I went in the next day and I was like, hey, if you know how to do this, why don't you do it?
Sure.
And he's like, I don't have the patience.
Oh, okay.
That was his answer.
Yeah.
Because he even told me a story of him teaching his brother how to do it. They did it out in Palm Springs. His brother's a doctor. He had a bunch of money laying around. They did it. His brother got really excited.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. And I guess he said he had to write a report to the management of why they let me play.
Yeah.
And apparently it was because I wasn't taking insurance at appropriate times.
Oh.
And that was the reason why they let me play. And then it was from him that I found out that on single deck, it's 1.5 that you take insurance, and on double deck it's 2.5, and then
shoe games
on 3 deck and higher it's 3 true 3.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I found that out, I was like, is there anything else that Mr. Colin isn't sharing with me? Well, I got a hold of some other YouTube video about the Lucky Ladies as well, and I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, we always talk about that at Boot Camp Lucky Ladies. The insurance thing, that's not an egregious thing. The real value is true. It's not like the difference that a double deck, the 2.5 to true 3 range. If you're not taking insurance from a 2.5 to a true 3, it's not like there went your edge. It's like maybe there went a few pennies,
right?
But maybe this guy was, maybe that was what he put in the report so he could, have an excuse for why he let you play.
Yeah, and he was being nice to me. And I've gone back I've always respected him, and Palace Station's really sweaty anyway, which is where he works. But he's always really nice to me, and he'll be like, hey, cool. Let me get you some free food type thing. You can't play here, but I'll get you some free food. And I always respect that experience. And honestly, it's weird. Like, maybe we'll talk a little later. I usually have a tough time with back-offs, but that one was so nice. I wish they were all like that. Anyway,
that's awesome.
I respect that guy, and I respect that experience. And also, don't always trust what casino personnel say, because even his small bet spread advice, the only thing that was doing for me was allowing me to be less noticeable. Mm-hmm. But it's eating into my EV, because when I returned to the boot camp, another big thing. So I learned about this lucky ladies. We learned I was playing too many negative counts, and then
6 to 5.
A big thing was learning how to wield CVCX.
Oh, okay, yeah, really dialing in your bet spreads,
and then also knowing like how much is this game worth.
Yes. Oh, totally. Yeah, when I was first playing, me and a couple guys, our first little team, we just came up with some bet spreads, and that's what we did everywhere. And once I started to understand how the rules and how penetration, all that stuff, affect your edge, it totally transformed the games we played, the bet spreads we used, what games we stopped playing, what games we started playing a lot more frequently. And, it's like Blackjack Apprenticeship is basically the result of what are the things we wish we would have had when we got into card counting. That's like why we have the bankroll management app, or why we do bankroll coaching, is because if you don't know this stuff, you're really fumbling in the dark, and hopefully it works out. If you have a big enough bet spread and a big enough bankroll, you'll probably make money. But if you don't have this stuff dialed in, it does really eat into your profits. So you came to the second boot camp. You were already a winning player, but you're able to kind of find out some of the things you didn't know, get things tightened up because you weren't really ready for that first boot camp.
Learn how to wield CVCX, and then you also checked my game.
Okay.
And I still didn't know like 2 or 3 deviations. Okay. But I remember you at the end you summarized and said, okay, you do have a winning game, but you're not going to basically be able to milk the casinos for all the maximum potential that you can. But it was great. Like and then after that, so I just went on after that. Like after that, I kept really, really good records.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And I will say this: another thing that sort of emerged out of that boot camp is that Blackjack community is really small.
Yeah.
And it's like I met a guy there.
Yeah.
Sub-Zero is his alias. We met him, and then also there was another gentleman there that told me about JC Note.
Oh, okay.
Who you know. And I got the contact info for JC Note from him.
Okay.
And, I'm not much of a forum guy. I'm never on the forum, tragically, even though, like, I'm very computer literate. Maybe forums aren't very exciting. But, like, it is really valuable to, like, to be part of...
Meet a few people.
Meet a few people.
Totally.
So... I went, it was kind of a hobby. I made some money, learned where I was like messing up, realized I got lucky.
Yeah.
With that $9,000 win.
Yeah. Well, the math caught up with you because you lost 7 of it back. Uh-huh.
And then I went on, played with Sub-Zero, kept good records, won a little money. He wasn't quite 21 yet. Uh-huh. So we could only go to so many casinos with him.
18,
that would allow
18-year-olds.
In fact, I think
there's one you guys were milking for a while, right?
Yeah, me and him. I think we actually lost money. Then he was like, "I'm just going to wait till I'm 21."
Yeah.
But then another thing emerged because I kind of got in touch with JC Note and heard of a team.
Okay.
That he was going to be part of, and I was like, you know what? Why don't I hedge my bets?
Sure.
And join a team as well, just to see what the experience that was like, because I want to be very real. When I heard about your stories of your past, my thought was like, oh, okay, well, maybe card counting was totally valid and real for them in 2002 and 3 during your tenure.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, maybe in 2012, that's not possible anymore. Sure. Which I want to be clear right now that is untrue. But I joined this team, and I have to say, it was this wild learning experience.
Yeah.
This guy wanted to. It was a team of, I think it was 10 when I started, and it grew to 13. Of kind of guys in their 30s. There was a few young bucks in there in their 20s. But like I was solid then.
Yeah.
I was a solid solid guy. And my thinking going in was like, okay, well maybe if I join a team, I'll have the team experience that you guys had that I'm seeing and hearing about in Holy Rollers.
Sure.
And what's interesting is my first weekend out with the guys. Yeah, I remember it was New Year's. I think maybe 2000. It might have been 2014. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
New Year's 2014. We go out and we won $35,000. In 2 days.
Nice.
We got some backoffs too, but it was amazing.
Okay.
And like that, it was just. At that time, I was like, okay,
yeah, this is the way to do it.
I'm finally hearing numbers that reflected what was in your documentary.
Yeah. And did it keep up like that?
No.
Okay.
It was just that weekend.
Okay.
And then after that, well, it's weird. I remember January and February we won, and then March we had a losing month, and then they reacclimated how they did it. And I was on the team all the way through till July, and I met JC, met all the guys, and they were a bunch of smart guys. The problem was, and I think you didn't have this issue, but the issue that we're running into on this team is since everyone's kind of in their 30s and everyone kind of contributed their own money. I think I contributed $10,000. I think you put in, and that's what the bankroll is everybody's contribution. And the guy that ran it like a business. But the problem is with a bunch of guys in their 30s that are all very smart. It was very much a competition of who's the smartest person.
Oh, okay. So the goal was maybe not, hey, how do we just get as much money out of casinos, but it was more
how
proving themselves.
Yeah, proving themselves. But what's interesting is though that was frustrating, that it seemed like it was an ego contest from time to time.
Okay.
And very very frequently, but still these were smart guys, and I learned. Other exploits. So
it was valuable experience, but it wasn't really providing the skyrocketing profits that you were anticipating.
Right, because
okay,
after the 7 months, I'd only made $7,000.
Okay, yeah, that's not going to cut it. $1,000 a month.
And I learned a lot of. I think my big takeaway from this team is when they tracked both the actual value, which is what you made, and the expected value.
Yeah, so we always talk about expected value. For those that aren't aware, expected value is, if you play the game perfectly for, thousands of hours, then you're left with the pure math of, so a game might be worth $100 an hour in EV. You're not going to win $100 in an hour, but that game was worth $100. If you keep playing that way hour after hour, it's going to average out to $100 an hour if you're playing properly. AV, actual value, is like, okay, I've played for 100 hours. My EV says I should be up $100,000, and if your AV is 10,000, you're up 10,000 instead of 100,000, then there's a problem. If you're up, 200,000 instead of 100,000, then you're overperforming and something crazy is up.
Yeah,
that's pretty rare. Usually, it's like, oh, my EV says I should have made $100,000, but it's really helpful to know. Okay, my AV is $30,000, there's something wrong. I'm not playing properly, or I'm not accounting for, some X factors. So that was valuable for you.
Totally valuable.
Okay.
That was a big takeaway. Other exploits as well.
Yeah.
Like how to beat machines, and also this thing called hole carding. In fact, the means of making cash was divided into those three categories. It was blackjack, card counting, machines, mainly sort of a video poker exploit with other exploits as well.
Yeah.
And then hole carding, which is like if you find a sloppy dealer that exposes the cards.
Yeah, hole carding is like super advanced. We get into a little bit day 2 of our boot camps, but that's not. It's kind of like this even deeper underground world than card counting. But so you learned some additional things, but you moved on. You moved on from the team.
I did because I part of it was this. JC Note had left the team, and because he didn't get along with the team leader, I was butting heads with the team leader, and I was frustrated with making the 7,000.
Yeah,
basically
$1,000 a month wasn't gonna cut it for you.
$1,000 a month for every weekend being out.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
And then also when you have the opening experience of 35 grand in 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your goal initially, you said your goal was just to try it out, see if it worked, and some side income. But it sounds like somewhere over the year or two, you'd grown maybe larger goals than just see if it works.
Yeah, and I think because initially we'd seen those numbers that reflected your team.
Yeah.
And that I'd seen in the documentary. But then when I'm looking at my numbers, I'm like, oh, I've only got 7,000 for this much effort. Like return on investment was really frustrating. And
it wasn't just that the team was milking you.
No.
It was just that the high numbers of that first weekend didn't continue.
Yeah, and it didn't seem to. Maybe
you didn't see the potential of it.
In general, the ROI was. I was like, my time investment for this amount of money was a little frustrating, even though it was a win.
Yeah,
like we didn't lose money.
Yeah. Well, and that was what was tough with our team is we had to sustain really good ROI because we had to pay players and investors and management, have it be worth everybody's time. Which meant the level of play had to be really high. We had to play high limit games, and our team. I just did the math recently. I was curious because I think JC Note was busting out his lifetime spreadsheet or something, and I was like, oh, I haven't looked at this stuff in years, but I looked at our team. Our team averaged over $200 an hour. So it's like that's not bad for a team that played tens of thousands of hours. But we had to do that, or else it wouldn't have been worth people's time, and they would have moved on very quickly.
Yeah, and JC Note put me in touch with. Joe748.
Okay.
And because I was in LA, he had left the team. I was frustrated with the team.
JC had left the team.
Yeah, JC had left the team. And then Joe748 was like a camera guy in Burbank at the time. And I was in LA.
Yeah.
And this is something that's really valuable, like kind of having a community. Because I played with Sub-Zero, got in touch with... So even though I don't forum, I talk with people, and that's really valuable. And it was also really valuable being on a team with all these guys because I learned an immense amount despite my complaint of the fiscal amount, the money amount that we made. And then when I talked with Joe748 and we talked about how much we had made, I told him, I was like, hey, I made, $7 grand. How much have you made this year? And he said this year? I'm like, yeah. He's like, 140. And I
140 grand.
I fell out of my chair.
You're trying to do this large scale team to make more money, and then a guy's playing on his own, making 20 times. Is that right? 20 times what you're making.
Yeah, 20 times what I'm making, and then basically even more than the entire team of 13 dudes.
Yeah. And so it's not the size of a team, or it's not even the brilliance of the people. So Joe748, he's much more the model that we were. One of the guys on our team said that we were the cockroaches of card counters, our team, because you just couldn't kill us. We weren't the smartest guys, but we just went in there and we played. And Joe 748, he's a smart guy, but it's really that he puts in the hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so you met him, and what happened from there?
Well, then at the time on that conversation, I was like, dude, I just learned about hole carding and I've just done it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you've got how much money? I was like, dude, you can bankroll me?
Yeah.
Because I've got the same skill set. And then I was like, dude, and I can teach you about all this hole carding stuff.
Yeah.
And then we met in person at San Manuel, a.k.a. Sloppy Manuel, because at the time they were notorious for exposing cards.
Okay.
Even though it's still not a very good... They've tightened up their game now, for sure. I've seen that, for sure. But at the time... So sure enough, first thing we meet, and I'm like, here's how hole carding works. This is how much more money you can make. And then sure enough, the guy exposes, and he looks at me and he goes, for real? I'm like, yeah. And then he actually ended up not doing that.
Yeah.
And when I requested that he bankroll me, he's like, dude, like a total Jedi master, he goes... You can do the same thing. And I was like, you know what? He's right.
Yeah.
And I left the team because I was frustrated with those results. And then
did you have a job during these?
I did. Okay. I was still
doing. This is really interesting.
I was freelance motion graphics, so I wasn't working the whole time.
Yeah.
So I'd have like 2 weeks off sometimes, and that was like go to Vegas and gamble time.
So this is kind of interesting. You have an interesting story arc that you get into it initially, and you have a little bit of initial success, but then not enough to you can do it full time, and so you're working on the side. And then, but you kind of, you're still interested in it. You're still trying to,
yes.
You still want to do it. And then it's like 2 years in, did you resolve, I'm going to do this? Or was it still just like, still feel like.
Right at that point. So here's what I did. I was like, okay, I went back to the company that I worked for and I said, and I didn't have this time I didn't have a full-time job. Whereas previously I'd gotten fired when I went to your boot camp. From there on out, I was freelance.
Yeah.
So, but there was one place that would always continually hire me. They loved me.
Yeah.
Doing their infomercial motion graphics. It's basically the remnants of the people from the company that everybody got fired from. Doing infomercial graphics over there. Like Dyson vacuum cleaners and 3M hooks and all that stuff. And I was like, look, you either need. I was getting $400 a day when I worked, and I was like, you need to either pay me more, or I'm leaving. And it was like. And if they didn't pay me what I wanted, which was at $500 a day, I was going to leave and go count cards.
Yeah.
So they paid me $500 a day. So,
you just got yourself a 25% raise?
I did, and also my motion graphics skill set got way better. And I was getting paid more, and so I did that for a year.
Okay.
And I was like, man, this is so close to my dream of what I want to do, which is make films, but it's not, I'm not telling the story.
Yeah, so the Dyson infomercial isn't exactly what you came to Hollywood for.
Not, because even on the lot that I was working on, they were shooting episodes of Supergirl, they've shot segments of Straight Outta Compton. Like nice. I'm like right next to that, going to lunch, looking at that right out the door, and I'm like, why am I not working on that stuff? And I was like, I can do this stuff. I can have the freedom to do this stuff if I can give it my full attention.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I guess I'm just gonna have to take a detour. And finally, Sub-Zero called me up. He's like, dude, I turned 21 next month, and I was like, okay, all right, this is it. I'm gonna tell him, like, look, at the end of this month is my last month, because even my visual effects got better, and I was really pressing into my work, and it was looking better, and I loved it, but it was close, but still not quite there. And so he turned 21, and then we went on. I think I had 25K at that time. Is what everything had built up to over the holidays and in between times, and it was still its own money. And I think I'd taken a little bit out for a car, like $2,000 down on a car that had died, and that was it. That's all I'd ever paid myself. Yeah. But we went for a month, and we made. It's interesting. I lost $1,000. This is the last year, not October 2016, but October 2015.
Okay.
He turned 21.
Yeah.
We went out, and we made $12,000. But that constituted of him making $13,000 and me losing $1,000. And I think he so we spent Thanksgiving together, and I think he was like, I think he saw me as dead weight because I lost I lost $1,000 for the month, and he's like, man, all 12,000 of that or 13,000 of that could have been mine.
Yeah.
So we parted ways. I don't want to put.
That might not be true.
That might not be true, but I mean, whatever. We parted ways, and whatever.
He's a good guy. I've met him.
Yeah.
Good guy, good card counter.
We're good friends.
But you guys decided to go off.
We parted ways, and then I teamed with JC Note because JC Note wanted to join with the remnants of the team that we were on, the whole karting guys. But which was just a few of the guys. And they really like to vet their guys before they join them, really kind of get to know them. And so they didn't acquire him. And so me and JC Note paired, and then it was on. Man, I remember it was December 1st of 2015 that we started, and it was just we couldn't. I mean, it was just amazing. I remember I would go. We covered a lot of cash, and I was going full time, and he made it's weird. He has a kid. So he spends a lot of time at home, but
Sure.
I felt like it was like I was James Bond, and I stayed at his place, and
Was he Q?
and he was Q because he made the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And I was like, it'd be nice if the spreadsheet had this little feature.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like, you know what, you're right, that's awesome, we should do that. And like he would do that, he would like change the feature or whatever, because there was a little bit of like, well, how are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
Because even on the team, like some of the smart things that they would do, they'd be like, well, are we losing? Because I guess on the team we were losing on Double Deck.
Oh, okay.
But we were winning on.
Oh man.
On the
So you
shoe
started
games.
tracking separate games.
And there's a little bit of like, well, are we living up to our potential on the games here? You know what I mean?
Man, that's so much more advanced than we did things. We just played and kept track of results.
Which is ultimately, in the end, like I guess if you, like, it's kind of like what I did at my initial phase. And if you're winning, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing.
But it's kind of nice to
kind of know.
Yeah. You just don't want to overanalyze, because then you can start jumping to conclusions. There's fascinating things. Psychologists talk about this. So we're always trying to make sense of things, to explain, and that's, humans are notorious for coming to wrong conclusions by trying to make sense of the world. So you don't want to overanalyze and be like, oh, well, that hour I lost because I don't do well when it's a tall brunette, but the next hour I won because I do really well when it's short redheads.
Dude.
Like you don't want to overanalyze and come to conclusions that are unfair. But if you have enough data, if you have enough hours of Double Deck, enough hours of shoe games, sure, maybe that's helpful to see how you're doing it.
Yeah, that's right. And when that month that me and Sub-Zero played, we would listen to your podcasts. You know what I mean? And really, like Tommy Highland and Loud and Often and Joe748.
Yeah.
And just all the wealth of information that you guys shared was really helpful for us in guiding us.
Sure.
Like for the the decisions that we made. I continued to make tons of money with JC Note. It was great. But then is the team that he's on is their name.
Is he okay with you saying that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's just a nickname.
Yeah, sure.
It's an alias. Called him up and wanted to reacquire him. But so he couldn't play with me, but he could still invest in me.
Sure. So you still had Q.
Yes.
To behind the scenes.
No joke.
Give you support and make sure you're on the right track, and then you could be James Bond.
Because I can't tell you the value of support and also the value of people that think like-mindedly.
Yeah.
I think me and Sub-Zero are philosophically we're close, but I can assuredly tell you that me and JC Note are very close, much much closer. As
far as your goals and how you're going to approach the game,
and that's really valuable.
Risk tolerance, things like that.
Like if you're going to team with somebody,
dude,
it's really really valuable.
Yeah.
You can just tell because you will feel good about it.
Yeah. So you've been saying that it went well. You made 7,000 in 7 months you made a little bit on your own initially, a few grand, came to a second boot camp, maybe you made a little bit more, joined a team, made $7,000 in 7 months, and but it wasn't really reaching the goals that you had. You have this come to Jesus moment with Joe748 where he says
with Yoda
who says come to Yoda moment, and he says you can do this. And then you played with Sub-Zero, and you guys between the two you made some money, but then decided to part your own ways. What at this point, if I'm hearing the story, I'm thinking like, okay, this is great. This guy makes maybe $10,000 a year counting cards as a hobby.
Yeah, Is that right? As a hobby, but when I went full time, man, it was on like Donkey Kong. We're breaking. I remember we finally cleared 6 figures about halfway through the year that I'd went full time.
Yeah.
And that was amazing.
So you cleared six figures in
2015.
I mean,
about halfway through the year.
Halfway through the year.
Yeah, I think it was.
And then you just kept going.
Yeah, just kept going.
Yeah.
Because I on the team we call it store burning, which is when you go to the casino is the store, and then you burn the store is when you get one back off.
Yeah.
So I burned all the stores
Sure.
in Southern California, which is where I was residing, and then I was like, well, there's no point in me like living here anymore.
Yeah. So you just started burning stores all over the place.
So I like left residency and just continued up the West Coast.
And you've won a few $100,000 in the last couple of years.
Yeah, this last year.
You don't have to give specific. I think it's just helpful for people to know, like, oh, this is great. It works as a hobby.
Yeah.
But there's still that thought of like, does it still work? You know, yeah, you could make real money in the 90s and early 2000s, but you can't really make that kind of money now. But it still works. It still works.
It still works. And the thoughts that I had thought about your team and what you had taught, they came true.
Yeah.
Because, well, initially I was like, oh, maybe that worked for him in 2002 and 2003. It works in 2016, people.
And it's helpful for me to hear. People might think I'm just like teasing this out of you to be like, hey, it works. But to be honest, when we started Blackjack Apprenticeship, we didn't know if we were going to be able to help people recreate what we had done. Because like we figured it out, you know? And we actually had met some people that ran a very successful team very early on, and they kind of pointed us in the right direction. Some of our training techniques came from Ben's interactions with them. They don't like us saying the name of the team, but I've probably said it on previous podcasts. Anyway, but it's like, well, are people really going to be able to do what we did? Or are we just selling people, you know, products that they're just going to be gambling?
Selling them false hope.
Yeah. And like it really would... You know, I wouldn't say keep me up at night, but I'd be like, well, I know if people do it right, it should work. And then, like, the testimonials start coming in, you know, even way before Joe 748, but other people that are like, you know, hey, I get emails, and it's like, Colin, I quit my job 6 months ago. Or even if it's just like, this has been an amazing hobby. I make $50,000 a year on the side, you know, flying around the country playing blackjack. But then the real stories, you know. So it's cool for me to hear, to feel like, okay, we created Blackjack Apprenticeship to pay it forward to the next generation of card counters, and it's like heartwarming,
yes,
to hear tales of the next generation
of success. Yeah, man, and I want to share that. People, it's like it's working in 2016, and in theory, it seems like it's like I have all the confidence in the world that it's going to. I'll put it this way. The way things are going, I think I will go till mid-2017 and then go to make films full-time is sort of the plan.
So and that was one of your goals.
Right.
And then there's another goal
that
you mentioned that you're going to be celebrating soon with some family.
Oh, yeah.
So tell people about that.
So this year, I ultimately wanted to be done altogether and return to LA in 2017, which I will do, but it seems like it's going to be mid-year.
Sure.
But I'm still very happy with my results. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I finally was able to pay off the college loan.
Yeah.
The burden from 1999.
Man.
So get this. It's a 2000... in 1999, I think it was a college loan, and it ended up growing because I couldn't pay it straight away out of college. And my dad signed for it, and that's the only way it was going to happen.
Yeah.
He didn't pay off any of it.
Yeah.
So for me, when I got out of school, I couldn't make enough money to be able to pay it back.
Yeah.
So I had to let it sit and acquire so much interest to the point where it built up to $45,000.
I've read a lot of articles about that. Even people that become doctors and aren't able to make enough to cover all of their student debt that they racked up to become doctors or dentists or whatever. I'm not trying to scare people. I think if you want to become a doctor, but a lot of people, they're not thinking about that. So that's awesome. You paid that off.
Dude. And it's the biggest burden of my life. And in fact...
But not anymore. Because it's paid off.
Yeah, it's paid off. Yeah, it's done. It's done. Killed.
Awesome.
That's a reason to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate that with my dad. But it even kept me from moving to LA sooner than I did.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because dream is to make movies, but I have this financial burden. I was like, it's like this ball and chain around your ankle. So Blackjack has helped. I'm debt free.
That's awesome.
And in fact, interestingly, midway through the year when I had to kind of like part with JC Note, because he joined, but he could still invest in me. So he still invested in me. So we had some bullets. We cleared 6 figures. It was amazing. Me and him together. When we were celebrating, we celebrated our bankroll. Or a bankroll, every mile marker like that. And that was awesome. And then what's weird is I returned to LA to my home there, which I was very not much there because I was burning stores elsewhere. In fact, I stayed at JC and basically burned everything in the area there. And then headed back down. And Old Work called me up, wanted me to come back. And I'm like, nope, not the way things are going now.
Sure.
But there was a moment, and I want to share this too, because at that time I was debt free.
Yeah.
I had made enough to be debt free.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I got into my room and I started thinking like of all these material possessions that I could buy. Almost like, because at the time I hadn't paid off the loan, but I had enough money to. So I had enough equity, but it was my bankroll.
Sure.
And so I was like, okay, I was like, I could use a new desk, a new chair, all this stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, why am I returning to the slavery that I have just freed?
The things you own you.
Right? And like, I know that you did. You went through this as well.
Sure.
And like, this was my version of that, where it was like, because you did financial apprenticeship. Which is something
side project
comparable to Dave Ramsey. And there's kind of this moment where you realize that buying things isn't going to make you happy.
Yeah.
And even though you do have the money, because I think in my infancy, I just never expected that moment of like, would emerge where I felt the need to buy a bunch of useless and worthless things, but it did, and it kind of creeped up on me and freaked me out.
Yeah.
And then I talked with JC Note, and this is why it's really good to have a community, other people that you can talk to that can help you in wherever you're at in life. You know what I mean? Can really help you with decision making and kind of navigating those emotional climates.
That's awesome. So instead you didn't buy a bunch of crap and you paid off the student debt.
Yeah, paid off the student debt, and I actually did your financial apprenticeship thing. Which
it's not, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist anymore. But you just do something like a Dave Ramsey.
Sure.
Is it okay if I summarize?
Yeah, and then we're gonna wrap it up because we gotta cut this one off. But we're gonna do. If you're up for it, we'll do a second podcast with you. But we're like over the hour
okay.
mark.
Let's do it.
But yeah. So summarize it, and then we'll stop for now.
It's basically if you're if the money that you're spending is not aligning with your life goals,
it's keeping you from your life goals.
It's keeping you from your life goals.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how small the amount is.
Yep.
And like just that concept is enough for me to think about when I'm spending my money and helps me reacclimate.
That's awesome.
It's very valuable.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. And thanks for sharing all this stuff. We're going to do a second podcast with the Phoenix. Hopefully this has been valuable for the people listening. And, hopefully you gleaned some things and maybe you can pay it forward someday, just like the Phoenix has offered to do. And check out the second podcast episode with him later.